Welcome to WT History. In this series, we list all the major events that happened in the world in a year, starting from 1776 to 2024. On January 8th, the United States public debt officially reached zero, the only time in American history that's ever happened, a rare moment of financial balance. On January 30th, President Andrew Jackson survived the first ever assassination attempt against a U.S. president at the Capitol building. Both of the attackers' pistols misfired. Meanwhile, in Kingston, Ontario, June 1st saw the opening of Kingston Penitentiary, one of the oldest prisons in continuous use until its closure in 2013. Back in the States, on August 25th, the New York Sun published the first part of the Great Moon Hoax, claiming astronomers had discovered life on the moon. The story captured the public's imagination and later their embarrassment. On September 19th, William Lloyd Garrison printed a letter by Angelina Grimké in The Liberator, a powerful moment for the anti-slavery movement and women's voices in social justice. Then came the Texas Revolution. On October 2nd, the Battle of Gonzales erupted when Mexican soldiers tried to seize a cannon from Texas settlers, only to meet fierce resistance. By October 28th, Texian forces had defeated the Mexicans at the Battle of Concepción, strengthening their cause. Just weeks later, on December 7th, James K. Polk, future U.S. president, rose to political prominence by becoming Speaker of the House. On December 9th, the Army of the Republic of Texas captured San Antonio, solidifying control of key territory. But tragedy followed. On December 16th, the Great Fire of New York destroyed 530 buildings, including the original New York Stock Exchange. Then, on December 20th, American settlers in Texas signed the Texas Declaration of Independence at Goliad, openly rebelling against Mexican rule. By December 28th, the Second Seminole War began in Florida, led by Chief Osceola in resistance against forced removal. Finally, on December 29th, the Treaty of New Echota was signed, setting the legal basis for the Trail of Tears. Around the same time, Fort Cass was established, the grim holding point for thousands of Cherokee people. Across the Atlantic, January 26th saw Queen Maria II of Portugal marry Auguste de Beauharnais, a short-lived union as he tragically died 2 months later. On March 2nd, Ferdinand I was crowned Emperor of Austria, inheriting a complex empire facing future upheaval. Then, on April 18th, Lord Melbourne became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, succeeding Sir Robert Peel. May 5th marked a leap in technology as Belgium opened the first railway in continental Europe, running between Brussels and Mechelen. On May 8th, the beloved writer Hans Christian Andersen published his first collection of fairy tales, stories that still charm readers today. By July 14th, a new religious movement emerged as the Catholic Apostolic Church was organized in the UK. Then on July 25th, James Bowman Lindsay publicly demonstrated constant electric light in Dundee, Scotland, a preview of future electricity. Only days later, on July 28th, Giuseppe Marco Fieschi tried to assassinate King Louis-Philippe I of France using a homemade volley gun. While the king survived, 10 people were killed. Elsewhere in Prussia, Karl Bertelsmann founded what would become one of the world's largest media companies. In August, the Vincentian community founded St. Vincent's Ecclesiastical Seminary in Dublin, which would later evolve into Castleknock College. This month also saw H. Fox Talbot Shaw create the world's first photographic negatives at Laycock Abbey, a breakthrough in photography. Then on October 3rd, Staedtler, the now famous pencil manufacturer, was founded in Nuremberg, Germany. On November 12th, the Wilberforce Monument was completed in Hull, honoring a leading voice in the abolitionist movement. On November 27th, James Pratt and John Smith were hanged in London, the last men executed for homosexuality in England. On December 7th, Germany's first railway, the Bavarian Ludwig Railway, opened using the English-built Der Adler locomotive. This year also saw the founding of the British Geological Survey, the first of its kind worldwide. Other milestones: the first Bulgarian language school opened in the Ottoman Empire, and France updated its language spelling, changing François to Francais. Meanwhile, Charles Louis Havas launched the world's first news agency, precursor to Agence France Presse. And in academia, David Strauss began publishing The Life of Jesus, which critically examined the Gospels, a controversial theological work. On January 7th, the HMS Beagle dropped anchor off Chonos Archipelago with Charles Darwin aboard during his famous voyage. Then, on January 24th, enslaved Yoruba Muslims launched the Malay Revolt in Bahia, Brazil, one of the most significant slave uprisings in the Americas. On January 26th, St. Paul's Church in Macau was mostly destroyed by fire after a typhoon. On February 1st, slavery was abolished in Mauritius, marking another step in global emancipation. Just weeks later, on February 20th, the Concepción earthquake hit Chile, followed by a tsunami that devastated Talcahuano. On May 5th, Braulio Carrillo was sworn in as head of state of Costa Rica, ushering in strong centralist policies. On May 11th, Matua, the high priest of Mangareva, was baptized into Catholicism, symbolizing growing missionary influence in Polynesia. Only 2 days later, on May 13th, the British bark Neva was wrecked near Australia, killing 224 people, most of them female convicts. On May 23rd, Aguascalientes was created as a new Mexican state by decree of Santa Anna. Then on August 30th, European settlers landed at the Yarra River, founding the future city of Melbourne, Australia. On September 7th, Charles Darwin reached the Galapagos Islands, where his observations would inspire the theory of evolution. By September 20th, the Ragamuffin War began in Brazil, a regional conflict pushing for local autonomy. On October 28th, New Zealand's tribes signed the Declaration of Independence, founding the United Tribes of New Zealand. Then, on November 16th, Halley's Comet reached its closest approach to the sun, fascinating astronomers worldwide. On December 5th, the Moriori genocide began as Maori warriors attacked and enslaved the Moriori people of the Chatham Islands, a tragic episode of cultural destruction. In India, the British East India Company negotiated a lease for Darjeeling, shaping the future of the region's tea industry. Meanwhile, civil war erupted in Uruguay, splitting the country between the Blanco and Colorado factions. Elsewhere, Juan Manuel de Rosas consolidated power as caudillo of Argentina, leading with strong authoritarian control. And lastly, the first Egyptian museum opened in Cairo, showcasing one of the world's richest archaeological legacies. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and ring the bell to catch our next dive into the past.